One day while driving my 30-mile commute into work, I started thinking about how so many adults at my new job had no clue about all of the technology that was available to them. I felt there's this huge need for something more visual and hands-on to teach adults in the workforce. Something to teach them skills that would help maximize efficiency and make them more marketable in this economy. And then it dawned on me. I had found my action research topic. As I got to know the staff, I realized that I was dealing with the majority of digital immigrants who had little to no formal training in Microsoft Excel. Their skills were almost entirely based on trial and error, with a general lack of basic Excel knowledge permeating the group as a whole. I then started to ask informally about how we could improve the process. Now it was time to research adult education, continuing education, and distance learning. And what I found was that I wasn't alone in thinking there has to be a better way. Now there's a great debate as to the most effective method to teach adults who are not digital natives. However, most of the methods have several key concepts in common. Since reading was a skill I already possessed, the ability to study various research methods, learning appropriate research questions, and finding valid and reliable resources was all thanks to Dr. Wiley in the Media Literacy and Research class. So let's get back to those key concepts by looking at the current research. Pohl, Yolks, and Marsick, 2009, state that learning is directly tied to a trial and error experience of the learners, which is in many ways more consistent with learning through experience. However, my colleagues were using trial and error and they still weren't successful. Why? Well, the problem was that they suffered from what Bensick, 2009, calls functional illiteracy, or a lack of technological knowledge. Lack of technological knowledge. That sounds vaguely familiar. Oh yeah, digital media class. I mean, look at that thing. It doesn't even look like a peanut. And then when you get a little bit better and you start learning how to code Flash, this is what happens when you do it wrong. It just keeps going. You can't stop it. And then just when you think it's over, it starts over again just to laugh at you. So it was a good thing I had Professor Smith and the DAA classmates to help me learn Flash correctly so that I could create great tutorials for my action research project. As I stated before, most of the counselors were digital immigrants, and they seemed to be suffering from functional illiteracy. So how does one combat functional illiteracy? Well, Newman suggests continuing education is an excellent way to offer employees a chance to learn and work with new technologies. Now, my task was to find a way to use continuing education as a means to fix the lack of technological knowledge. Now, I knew I did not want to provide a traditional training where everyone would meet in a classroom setting and I would get up in front and lecture for hours. Especially after months of FSO had taught me there had to be a better way. Two key components of successful technology integration are using clear and simple language and navigational mechanisms on web pages, according to Bergstaller 2009, which will be accomplished by using Adobe Flash for the platform. And then Park 2009 states that internal factors such as course design strategies and learners' motivation should be prioritized at the course development stage in order to make the course participatory and interesting. Motivation. That sounds familiar. Dr. Siegel in the GSM class. Well, here's the top 3 ways that GSM helped me in my action research project. Number 3, it confirmed my belief that adults are just older kids who want to learn through engaging games. Number 2, Epic Fail is only 6 months away from being granted full recognition by Webster. But the number 1 reason is that motivation, whether it be intrinsic or external, is a major factor in the amount of learning that takes place with every type of learner. I met with my coworkers and told them about what I had planned concerning my action research project. They seemed very interested and I was excited to finalize the details of my pre-quiz. I was a little nervous because I knew the skill level on Excel ranged from very little knowledge to a few who are quite adept at it. Now, I had not anticipated my pre-quiz to be so difficult to create. I just thought it would take me an hour or so and then I'd be able to post it, email the link, and start viewing the results. So, after taking almost 2 weeks to research, rewrite, and edit, I finally came up with a rough draft. I gave it to my critical friends for feedback and then made changes necessary before I proceeded. I used a mixed approach for Cycle 1 as I performed informal queries into the level of Excel knowledge and then created a pre-quiz on Quiblo.com. The qualitative information resulted from conversations and emails that were sent out to get a sense of where my coworkers were with Excel, and these helped guide the questions for the quantitative quiz. I had a strong feeling that there was a knowledge gap before the quiz results, and then it was confirmed after the average quiz score was a 69%. I started by taking each question of the pre-quiz and seeing which questions were missed the most so that I would make sure to not only cover that information, but also create review questions after each video to help imbue the information. I then began to create the Adobe Flash part of the tutorials and was reminded just how long it takes to code and complete simple pages using Flash. I then started to record the video lessons and embedded them into Flash after my critical friends had viewed and critiqued them. Ever since my DAE class, I was jonesing to use Adobe Flash again on a bigger scale, and after the research concluded that interactive and graphic-rich videos were the way to go, I had my chance. I love how Flash allows you to create an entire platform to incorporate videos, interactivity with buttons, and the ability to create review questions that are not scored while allowing the user to use trial and error to get the right answer. Plus the fact that with a few changes to the HTML file, it can be put into my public iDisk so that anyone with internet access is able to view it whenever they need it, and it was a perfect fit for my action research project. ScreenFlow was an easy choice to capture what was happening on my screen, and then I turned it over to edit in iMovie. After having my critical friends review the first couple of completed tutorials, it was suggested that the background music was a nice touch, so I added it to the rest of the lessons. I also wanted to make sure that the videos themselves were short, sweet, and to the point. And that's why I was really thankful for Professor Hanaway and the Emergent Technologies in a Collaborative Culture class, and her assignment, 1-minute messages. Now these 1-minute messages basically forced you to be good and to the point. And I was really thankful for this because I really think it helped my final tutorials. I was also thankful for Dr. Rep and the MTA class. I really had a great time using GarageBand to create my own music, and the skills that I learned in MTA were able to translate into creating original music for my action research project and my digital story, which I was really proud of. Cycle 2 consisted of watching the tutorials and then taking the post-quiz, and the post-quiz results were a blessed sight, as 13 received A's and 75% received an 80% or higher. One of the learning objectives I set at the beginning of the project was to increase the average score by at least 10%, so it was nice to make that a reality. Interesting facts about the pre-quiz and post-quiz: 12 to 31. Those who received an 80% or higher, which was an increase of 45%, and 24 to 7. Those who received a 69% or lower, which was a decrease of 40%. By combating the functional illiteracy described by Bensic 2009, companies empower their employees with new skills that will help increase production. Creating continuing education classes that adhere to simple principles such as ease of operation and including media-rich content will increase completion. As the research shows, adults in the workforce can increase their knowledge and productivity through the proper application of technology. I am very pleased with not only the results, but more importantly the process of how to put together a quality lesson that allows adults to learn and retain information. It has been great to hear from my colleagues weeks later stating how much they have used some of the techniques they have learned from the tutorials and how much easier it has been to produce what they need. When I started the Action Research project, I had no idea what to expect. But now that this first one is complete, I look forward to finding more ways to implement new action research into my work.